And so it begins.
Dark were the skies and chill was the wind as the land was covered in a veil of malice. Across the hill did ride a dread army of the night, cloaked in mist and fog, prepared to rain down death and destruction upon the land. And the people did cry out for a hero, a noble soul to save them from their impending demise. Just as it seemed all was lost, in strode a mighty hero, clad in shimmering metal from head to toe. Wielding a mighty broadsword, he did cleave his foes in two, smashing their ranks asunder with a righteous fury. And when the day was done, and the enemy strewn across the field in pieces, the people did turn to the warrior and said, "We shall name this day in your honor. Speak unto us your wisdom." The warrior said one word that day: epic.
One man, one Murloc, one giant angry badger. This is Blue Please. It begins now. Yes, indeed it does, folks. You listen to Blue Please here on WoW Radio with myself, TotalBiscuit, and welcome to the show. Right, okay. So some of you may have noticed, some of you may not be aware of this yet, but it's yet another Open Please. Yes, indeed, folks. That means the topics will be dictated by you. Now, I know some of you cynical people are sitting there thinking, ha! The only reason he's doing this is because he's run out of things to say, and you would be absolutely correct in that assumption. I have actually, to my knowledge, talked about absolutely everything in WoW that I want to talk about ever, until we get some new content to chat about. So, until further notice, that's exactly how Blue Please is going to work. Open Please. All the topics are going to be suggested by you. You can suggest entire topics, which take me 15 minutes to discuss, or you can just ask me questions, whatever the hell you like. Test my knowledge to the absolute limit and see if you can catch me out. However, class balance discussions are completely out of the question. I hate them, and you are well aware of that. Mages are fine, learn to play. Alright, okay. So, what have I been doing this week? Not an awful lot. Guild took down Broodlord, or Loot Lord Lashlayer, as some people like to call it, which is always good. So, progressing into Blackwing Lair now, waiting for Anchorage to sort itself out. What else have I been doing? Not an awful lot. Not on WoW, anyway. I picked up a copy of Guild Wars, in fact. Actually, I picked up 2 copies of Guild Wars. One went to my girlfriend, the other one to me. We decided to start playing Guild Wars as a alternative to WoW, not a replacement to it. So I started playing, I picked the game up. And what struck me, to start with, was the character customization. I thought, right, the character customization is slightly better. Admittedly, everyone's a human, which is a little bit dull, has to be said, but it's not bad. Character customization is pretty good. I can create a character who I want to actually play. So, as any red-blooded post-pubescent male would do, I created a female. So I've got a female ranger, and I started the game, and I thought, right, okay, what am I going to do? Walked around a bit. Quests, yes. Oh, look, it looks very, very similar to WoW in the way that you find something with an exclamation mark above its head, or a question mark, and then you go and get a quest. Go and do the quest, blah, blah. And I thought, yeah, this is quite cool. One of the first things I noticed was the ability to create a character with a name which has more than one word in it. Now, I may officially say that that was the worst idea in history, mainly because you're selling a game which has no subscription. So, in other words, any 12-year-old idiot can buy it and play it. And you're giving them the opportunity to make the stupidest names in the world. I kid you not. So, we've got OMG Pones Noobs the Warrior wandering around there. Got a mage called Gandalf the Great. We've got... what else is it? Carius came up with a whole massive list of really stupid names that he found in the American realm. It was really, really bad. But yeah, it's good. I actually like the naming system, but let's face it, it's like giving a butcher's knife to a child. It's, you know, it's not going to be pretty. Whatever happens, the result will not be pretty. So yeah, that's something, as far as I'm concerned, the game has over Guild Wars. The game has over Guild Wars. The game has over World of Warcraft. For the record, I did not go Ranger Monk, I went Ranger Mesmer. On the basis that I wanted to create a sniper-type character. Now, I heard that Mesmer would allow you to create a character which had debuffs and hexes, so I would be able to slow down a character. So I picked up Imagined Burden, which is effectively a slowing ability. It's actually like Frost Shock, only it just doesn't do any damage. It slows the target to 50%. So I started shoving all my points in marksmanship because I wanted to be a Zomg elite sniper instead of a Beastmaster or survivalist or whatever. Start shoving all my points into marksmanship and use my mesmer abilities to keep the opponent at bay while I shoot him in the face with arrows. And what really satisfied me more than anything, not only the satisfying twang of the bow, which sounds a lot better than the terrible creaking noise in WoW, but the ability to shoot off hills and actually gain range bonuses. So I'm standing on top of a hill and I'm raining arrows down on my opponents with an actual proper fall-off with the arrow instead of the thing just being propelled from my bow mysteriously in a completely straight line towards the target. So, yeah. So far, I'm quite enjoying it. Now, the first section of my show, I want to compare, first impressions-wise, WoW to Guild Wars. Now, let me just say like this. I'm not a fanboy of any particular game. What I am is a gamer. As a gamer, I play games. To be tied to any particular game is inefficient and stupid. So, if I say, oh, well, I'm not going to play that game because I'm playing World of Warcraft, that's just silly because you deny yourself the experience of being a true gamer. A true gamer who actually plays lots of games, who has a wide variety of gaming tastes, and who gets as much enjoyment out of the whole genre as possible, rather than just effectively restricting yourself for no apparent reason, on the basis that someone might call you, you know, you can be a fanboy or whatever. So, yeah. That's going to be the first section of the show. The rest of the show is going to be topics and such suggested by you. So send them to my email box, themurloc@gmail.com. That is themurloc@gmail.com. Shoutouts will be done later. Right, so, back to the Guild Wars vs. WoW comparison. So, character creation. It's nice, but again, there's so little variety in how your characters look, as in they're all human, that sort of kind of nerfs the ability to sort of colour your clothes in the way you want to. As far as character customization goes, that's where Guild Wars really shines over WoW. It is one of the areas. Now, the thing about Guild Wars is that it's more skill-based and less items-based. I don't mean skill-based as in Zomg, I have elite skills, because let's face it, it's an RPG. You don't aim your bow, it shoots for you. Skills. There are a lot of character skills to be had, yet you can only use 8 at any given time. You can only have 8 on your hotbar, and those are the only ones you can use outside of a town. You go back to a town, you can change the skills you have, so you can effectively swap out skills for particular situations. That's kind of cool. One, because it doesn't bog you down with having loads and loads and loads of skills that you've got to use at the same time, so it makes it easier to find a build that you're comfortable with, but it allows for character customization. Now, whereas the items in Guild Wars are dross, they really are, in comparison to WoW, there is so little variety. There really is. Most of the weapons look the same. I've gone through 7 bows so far in a day, and only one was actually a different model to the ones that I went through. It's like, ooh, longbow, flat bow, Acheron bow. They all look exactly the same. Great. Oh, I got a enchanted bow. Oh, it looks the same as the last one. Well, but yeah. So, what you've effectively got is, whereas WoW, character customization is done via itemization, in Guild Wars, it's done by skill builds. So, if I want to customize my character, that's the way to do it. Now, while items and armor are pretty weak, they do allow for weapon and armor customization. You can add runes to armor, for instance. Now, socketed items are coming in WoW, and that's a very good thing. That's something I'm looking forward to, because I like to customize my character as much as I can. That is, as far as I'm concerned, one of the main weaknesses that WoW has always had, and I've known this ever since I started playing, that the character customization is limited. Now, socketed items will hopefully allow for more character customization. In Guild Wars, you get to customize your weapon, which will effectively soulbind it to you. Items aren't necessarily soulbound. but they can become soulbound if you customize them. So say, right, I'm going to customize my bow, for instance. It makes it more powerful, but it becomes soulbound to me. So I can't then disenchant it or salvage it for materials, and I can't sell it to somebody else. So it's a trade-off. That's quite good. I like that. Runes can be added to armor in the same way that this whole socketed item system in WoW is going to work. You can upgrade your armor. It's sort of like an enchant, only it can be used by anyone, and it can be bought from rune vendors, or it can be found in the field. It's a one-time thing. You can't create runes. You've got to find them. So once you replace your armor, that's it. But it's nice. I like it. I can customize my character. So yeah, the combat is relatively similar. It really is. I mean, there's only so far you can go in an MMORPG and have the combat being particularly varied and different from the next one. It just doesn't happen. They all follow a specific formula. You know, and it's the same. If I'm playing a hunter compared to my ranger in Guild Wars, we effectively do the same thing. I attack, my pet charges in, auto-attack starts, and then I spend energy or mana on abilities. It's exactly the same, effectively. My abilities are more limited, but it's the same thing. The only thing I have to say is that Guild Wars combat is slightly more exciting, just mainly because of graphical style more than anything. Now, whereas WoW combat is very functional, it's a very good system, it works very well, Guild Wars combat is a lot flashier. The graphics are better, it's that simple. Whereas graphic design in WoW, especially places like the cities, you could argue is better. The overall, as far as I'm concerned, the overall level of graphics is better in Guild Wars. That adds a lot to the game. Spell effects, for instance. One of the most underwhelming things in WoW. They're functional, but in Guild Wars they're very flashy. It's blindingly obvious what a person is using, because you can tell, yeah, they're raining meteors down from the skies and explosions all over the screen and lovely light shows and everything. Yeah, animations are better as well, has to be said. A warrior in combat looks a lot better than a warrior in WoW. But then again, there are some things which don't quite work the same. I think the reason, to be honest, that Guild Wars does not have a lot of instance PvE raid content, as it were. They do have big monsters you can go and kill, but where WoW is more of a PvE game, and its raid encounters are a lot more complex, they're a lot more cerebral, they're a lot more well thought out. The aggro system, for instance. In Guild Wars, the aggro system seems a little bit random. I can't pull the aggro off someone by battering the living crap out of them. It's more about who the monster first sees and they'll decide to chew on. That's really about it. There is no aggro control as such. This is my first impression of the game in comparison to World of Warcraft. PvP. Well, I have only taken part in one PvP fight so far, because obviously in the training, which again is another nifty area of Guild Wars, you actually get to take part in PvP. You have to, in fact, to progress. A PvP mission. The only way to pass that mission is to beat the other team. That's cool. I do enjoy that. The fact that they're integrating PvP into the game's character progression rather than simply having it on the side as something you can do. Now, there is a possible argument there that maybe they shouldn't have done that, because PvP can be optional. You roll on a PvE server, you don't really want to PvP unless you feel like it. Guild Wars forces you to do that. You have to PvP. In fact, the end game is effectively PvE, whereas the WoW end game is PvE. I've got it completely the wrong way around, haven't I? Guild Wars is PvP endgame, and World of Warcraft is PvE endgame. It's an interesting conundrum. To be honest, what I'd like to conclude from this, before I get onto your topics, is that they are two totally, completely different games. Now, when people complain, Guild Wars, let's say, for instance, the Guild Wars fan base, a lot of them hate WoW. They're Guild Wars fanboys. Heck, someone registered World of Warcraft sucks.com, and it now redirects to Guild Wars. Now, somehow I doubt that was NCSoft or ArenaNet who did that. It'll have been a fan. that's done that. Say, hey, that's funny. Well, I'll go and register Guild Wars sucks and redirect it to worldofwarcraft.com, and what will that accomplish? Absolutely nothing, because they're two totally different games. Guild Wars in itself is not an MMO. Most of it is instanced. It plays in the same way that Phantasy Star Online used to play. Those of you who played that on the Dreamcast will know that the communal areas, you had a lot of people in them. However, the actual game was instance. Go out of the town, bang. Instance groups. Your own private copy of the world. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It has to be said, WoW sometimes feels a bit crowded. If I'm trying to do a quest and 20 people are farming the mob, well, that's just not helpful. But then again, the flip side of that is the world doesn't quite feel as alive as WoW does. Movement is restricted. It's like, oh, there's a hill. Oh, I can't climb it. It's a 10% incline, but I still can't climb it because the game does not want me to climb it. Whereas in WoW, it's like, well, I want to jump off this cliff. It's my choice to jump off this cliff, therefore that's exactly what I'm going to do. I don't have to follow a preset path. Both games have their good points, and both games have their bad points. The best way to get the whole experience out of online role-playing games, as far as I'm concerned, is to play both. In fact, play as many as you possibly can. Get the broadest perspective on online role-playing, because it is one of the most exciting developments in gaming in general. The idea of being able to role-play online with a whole bunch of people from around the world is a thrilling and exciting concept. To limit yourself to just one narrow view of that particular concept is, in my opinion, quite silly. You're missing out. You're listening to Blue Please here on WoW Radio. Get your topics into the Murloc at gmail.com. Topics and questions, send them my way. Here's a little bit of Primal Fear. This is Demons and Angels. Enjoy. You're listening to the podcast and archive of Blue Please. You can listen in live on Sundays at 17:30 GMT. That's 12:30 Eastern Standard Time, with a lively musical pre-show kicking off 1 hour beforehand. If you like WoW Radio's productions, then make sure to dig our shows at dig.com and check out our website at www.wcradio.com. Oh yes, I thought that topic might turn a few heads and get you all riled up. At least some of you, anyway. You listen to Blue Please here on WoW Radio with myself, TotalBiscuit, and before the break we were talking about Guild Wars versus WoW, a comparison. Or at least the impression I've got from Guild Wars after one day of playing it. Now, what I'm going to say is that they're both great games, and I still play both of them. But I play them for different reasons. This is how I see myself when I have a level 20 Guild Wars character. I'm going to be playing Guild Wars for the PvP, and I'm going to be playing WoW for the PvE. That's the strengths of both games, and that is what I intend to exploit. Oh yes. Right, okay. Ask for your questions, so your questions I am going to answer. Topics and questions, themurloc at gmail.com. Do it now. Right, okay. Let's see. Now, the first question I got. Andy Gambadala, also known as Prince of Magic, I believe. If you could change one thing in the game, what would it be? Or if you could have one epic item or legendary item, what would it be? Epic item, Claw of Chromagus, obviously. Or the Staff of Shadowflame. Probably Claw of Chromagus, to be honest. What would I change in the game? Well, that's a tricky one. I think it's a toss-up between character customization as far as looks goes and character customization as far as skills go. Yeah, that's actually what it would be. It would be skills. And what I would change in the game is implementing my own idea of hero classes. The idea that instead of having a linear build, you can become a hero class and it will open up a gigantic, I'm talking Guild Wars size, pool of talents, but they would not be restricted. So you could have anything in this pool of talents. They include new abilities, buffs to stats, all that kind of thing, and depending on which ones you picked, you would refine your character. You would be named something else. So, take for example, you're a mage, yeah? You're a mage. Now, if I decide to take a lot of talents and stuff in, say, I don't know, phantasmic magic, I become a illusionist hero. Or if I take a lot of talents in fire, I could become a pyromancer. Or maybe I could do something crazy. I'll take some warrior talents. I'll become a spell warrior. Or something along those lines. So, that's what I would love to see. That was the one thing I would change in the game, is to allow progression beyond the linear talent builds and the abilities which you're given every level. And let's face it, that's how it works. You're given the abilities, you're given ranks up in the ability, you're expected to use them. They're pretty much useful pretty much somewhere in the game. So, say, for example, Prayer of Healing is required for Veilstraz. Otherwise, you will all die horribly. You know, Shamans are required for Razor Gore to kite using Earthbind totems and all that kind of stuff. I would love to see it go beyond that into a realm of where I could actually choose what I wanted to play instead of being effectively given a character that progresses in a linear fashion every time. You could create 100 mages that all progress in exactly the same way. Whereas you have some customization with talent builds, I think it's too limited. I would like to see something a little bit crazier. That's my grand vision, and that's the one thing that I actually want to see. Right, I suppose I better give a shout out to Lito, because he gave me stuff in Guild Wars. He didn't give me that much stuff, he gave Angel Girl more things. So I call favoritism on that, but shout out to Lito anyway. Yeah, he's got a silly voice. You should hear what he does on Ask the Murloc later. It sounds silly. In fact, it sounds beyond silly. It was supposed to be Norwegian accent, but apparently I thought it was Welsh. I'll see what you think of that later. Anyway, back on to topic. Okay, next topic. Let's see. Okay. Minutia 220, also known as Minutia, from Feathermoon, the US RP server. I'm new to listen to WoW Radio, in fact, just turned it on maybe 30 minutes ago after a friend telling me about it. I'm not sure if you have talked about this, but what's your opinion on the new expansion, the Burning Crusade, for World of Warcraft? Do you think there are disadvantages? Is there things you're really excited about? Just wondering what you're expecting and what you just think about it in general. Right, okay. You see, I could talk about this for a very, very long time, and have in the past. If you were listening to the BlizzCon footage, or watching the BlizzCon footage more accurately, you would have noticed that we talked about the expansion a lot. I actually sat in front of the camera for about 3 hours speculating about it, just for the sake of it. We got all the information direct from the horse's mouth, and we just talked and talked about it. I'll try and comprise it down to something a little bit more palatable. Let's start with the good bits. What I like about the idea. Socketed items were actually the thing that excited me most. Now, some of you might think socketed items are a minor thing, but for me, socketed items open up a whole new world of character customization, and that is really important to me. That is something which has bugged me ever since I've started playing WoW, the lack of customization. Yes, indeed. Dramatic music in the background. So, that's the thing which thrills me most. The idea that I can customize my weapon to my liking, customize my armor to my liking, to fulfill a specific function, is nice. I like that idea. I'm hoping it will be a serious system, rather than just glorified enchants. I'd like to see some seriously good stuff. I'd love to see, say, powerful jewels that go in the sockets that have both advantages and disadvantages. I'd like to have to make a significant choice in the game and say, well, actually, I want this, but it's going to cause me problems in another area. So if I want to specialize for something very specific, I want to be able to do that. Hopefully socketed items will help, even in a limited perspective, get to that ultimate goal of character customization. What else is exciting me? The Caverns of Time. All new instances. And new instances always excite me, because I do love PvE content. So stuff like the Caverns of Time, where it's going to be a grand battle. You're going to be able to relive the classic battles of the Warcraft universe. Now that really does interest me, because it's something they haven't done before. It's not just another instance. Or is it? is it effectively going to be a scripted encounter masquerading as a big fight? Is that a good thing or a bad thing? In my opinion, it's good. Because, let's face it, if you can suspend your disbelief, then you can have a lot of fun in many, many games, and WoW is one of them. So if I can suspend my disbelief that it's yet another scripted encounter in a boss fight, glorified boss fight or whatever, then I will enjoy that. Because I say, hey, this is fun, I'm taking part in a big epic battle. Yes, I did most certainly say that. So yeah, that's a good thing. What am I not looking forward to? Level 70. I'm not looking forward to level 70 for a variety of reasons. The first reason is a possible issue of class balance. That's going to throw the whole balance out of whack, unless it's done properly. That's something which is very, very important. What I'm not looking forward to is actually getting those levels. When I got to level 60, I was under the understanding that I'd done with leveling, and that I could now go on to the end game content. That's what I wanted, and that's why there were times I almost quit WoW, several times in fact, during the leveling up process, because I got bored to tears with it. I really did. I hated it. Hated it with a passion, because I hate watching an XP bar slowly going up and up and up, and quests only do so much to hide that progression. Get rid of an XP bar entirely. That would be great. Just get rid of it. I don't want to see my XP at all. When I level up, yay, great. I don't want to see my XP. That would be kind of handy. But yeah, anyway, that's beside the point. That's what I'm not looking forward to. The rest of the content is pretty much standard expansion stuff. It's the stuff we expected. Socket items I did not expect, which is why I'm excited about them. Everything else, Outlands, Outlands doesn't really thrill me all that much. It's just another area. That's fine. Other areas are good, but it's not something which excites me, whereas Socket items most certainly do. Okay, Margaret Bright Budum, also known as Rikazin. Hey TB, are you ever going to play EverQuest 2? I'm thinking of trying it. Absolutely not, because SOE suck. They ruined the game that I loved for over a year and a half, also known as PlanetSide. They put ads in it, for God's sake. It's like, yeah, you can sign up to the almighty new conglomerate, Freedom Fighters. And we've got adverts for Diet Coke all over our main military buildings. Oh, God. Don't even get me started on the BFRs either. Oh, Lord. Yeah, that's a great idea. Give someone an armoured killing machine that they can pilot on their own and can't be destroyed by anything else other than another armoured killing machine. Who thought that would be a good idea? Oh, dear. That's just... no, horrible. Right. Okay. Chaos Smurf, also known as Chaos Emo. Oh, knows. Please talk about Nomugen. No. It's an interesting instance the first time you go through it, but it's overly difficult, it's too long, and the items you get in it aren't as good as they should be. It's just the twisted vision of hell, yeah. But it's not as bad as Lower Blackrock Spire, let's face it. Okay. Get your questions in to themurloc@gmail.com. That is themurloc@gmail.com. Now, I've got quite a few questions about the honour system, and mainly, has to be said, going about DKs. Is the honour system balanced or trash? A guy called Besk wrote in and said, I was raiding the crossroads with my rogue and a lot of other friends, and it happened that someone killed a civilian. The group got really mad and kicked him out. I think that the honour system is flawed because some moron in your party kills a civilian or a hapless caster AoEs the hell out of a civilian by accident. I think it's flawed and should be removed or fixed. I would like to hear your side of the honour system. I must agree. It's not the honour system that sucks, it's the dishonour system. The dishonour system is stupid. It's retarded. It serves no practical purpose. Now, when we first started the game, I was aware that if you were to kill a quest NPC, they would respawn really, really fast, and they don't drop anything worth having, so there's no point in killing them anyway. So, isn't that enough discouragement? Let's face it, that's the only good reason for DKs to be there. Because, I walk into, say, I remember a time I walked into Ghostwalker Post, and my quest NPC was dead, and I thought, oh dear. but 30 seconds later it would respawn, so it didn't really make a difference. So, effectively, DK's system is catering to very impatient people, and in return has completely destroyed any form of town or city raiding that there was in the game, because inevitably someone is going to hit a civilian, and when they do, you lose a whole bunch of honour. But you don't lose honour for killing a level 10. Okay, well, it has to be said, whoever thought of that one was obviously fell off the logic wagon. That is just incredibly stupid, has to be said. I don't like it. I really don't. If you're going to make a dishonor system, then enable it into PvP and put some effort into it. Create a gigantic formula that takes into account all sorts of things like how many friendlies are in the proximity, the level of your equipment, the level of your character, the level of the health that the player was on, whether or not he was fighting a mob, and then you can calculate whether or not the kill was dishonorable. Sure, there might be a few quirks in the system, but it's better than destroying an entire hobby, and that's effectively what it is. I remember I used to go city raiding, I used to go village raiding, I would actually organise it and do it for fun. I can't do it now because no one will come. Or I might get a DK, I'll lose a rank. Oh, well, that's really sensible. Thanks for that. Great. Yeah, that needs sorting. I have to agree with the sentiments of Besk there that the honour or dishonour system is absolutely atrocious and serves no practical purpose. Oh, yes. You listen to Blue Please here on WoW Radio. I think it's time for a bit of soil work. There's always time for a bit of soil work on my show. The name of this track is Overload. Enjoy. You're listening to the podcast and archive of Blue Please. You can listen in live on Sundays at 17:30 GMT. That's 12:30 Eastern Standard Time with a lively musical pre-show kicking off 1 hour beforehand. If you like WoW Radio's productions, then make sure to dig our shows at dig.com and check out our website at www.wcradio.com. Ladies and gentlemen, do not be alarmed. A cynical Brit has been allowed on the air with a microphone. You will listen, or the kitten we have hostage will be forced to fight a giant badger. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a Blue Please. Enjoy. WoW
Radio. The Murloc.
Hello there, Murloc. How are you doing? I dropped my Hearthstone and I don't know how to get it back. Please help me.
Cower in fear, foolish mortals, it is I, the Murloc. Come to eat your entire harvest and add unpleasant tasting chemicals to your water supply. The answer to your particular query is really quite simple. There was in fact no Hearthstone to begin with. Following this logic, the Hearthstone did not exist, and losing something that does not exist is in fact impossible. Therefore, the non-existent Hearthstone that clearly did not exist is not lost. Since it is not lost, then logic dictates that it is, in fact, in your possession. Fool! Ha ha!
Ask the Murloc.
Dear Murloc, could you tell me how I can download coordinates and where?
Yes. From a purely philosophical perspective, does not the idea that you can acquire physical coordinates to your chosen destination from a medium that does not, in fact, have any physical substance or being seem a little troubling to you? If, in fact, said coordinates are purely ethereal, then surely they cannot possibly be relied upon to lead you to anything other than a purely imaginary destination that Nietzsche, in fact, said may reside inside a giant pie. The Murloc has been eating a variety of colourful pills today. Ha-ha!
Ask the Murloc.
Dear Murloc, could you tell me what food is good for? I haven't found use for it so far.
Well, indeed, if music is in fact the food of the soul, then should not the lowest form of music, rap, be the food of the body? Since the vast majority of so-called rap music or hippity-hop is not easily digestible, then does it not stand to reason that all of the starving children in the world can in fact blame 50 Cent for their troubles? Ha! Generally speaking, however, in a purely philosophical perspective, you have just spent 2 minutes of your life listening to me spout irrelevant philosophical drivel. I own 2 minutes of your life, which I will sell back to you at a premium price. Now be gone, before you are swallowed whole by your own inadequacy. Ha ha!
Ask the Murloc.
Oh dear, the Murloc's got philosophical, and that can only mean trouble. Ask the Murloc here on Blue Please. This is WoW Radio, of course, and I'm TotalBiscuit, if you hadn't already noticed. Right, okay. Again, this show is open to your topics. And it will be for the foreseeable future. I'm not kidding, it will be. I have absolutely nothing that I haven't already covered that I actually want to talk about, that I specifically will go out and research and talk about for 15 minutes. There is nothing that I can think of that I haven't already discussed, that I feel up to discussing. So, there were two choices. Either I take the show off the air, or I open it up to you lot until I come up with some new ideas. It's that simple, really. So, if you want anything discussed, I will not discuss class balance. One, because I don't have a level 60 of every single class. Therefore, I'm obviously not up to discussing class balance. And two, because discussing class balance is like running yourself against a brick wall. It's pointless, and it only ends up with people getting hurt. Right, okay. I have a whole bunch of stuff. Oh, this is an interesting one. Okay. My question for you is, this is from Zirar. My question for you is, why would I even bother buying the game? I don't own it yet, but I do listen to WoW Radio. Everywhere I come, forums, radio, whatnot, people are complaining. Not enough endgame content, not enough mid-game content, not enough solo content, bad customization, ganking bastards. Everything that could be wrong is wrong if you believe the public opinion. About 5 million people are playing the game, and it sounds like half of them are complaining about it not being good enough. Why do all these whiny bastards keep playing if they can't do anything but complain about it? Personally, I don't believe these sorts of people. They are the people that were complaining about their toilet paper having 4 layers instead of 5. Others might believe them and not buy it because of bad criticism. Tell them why they should buy it and eat 1 less pizza per month. Right. The reasons to buy WoW. Now, first, before I go on to that, let me address the whole thing that he's saying. And it has to be said, I do agree with him to a degree. If you did read the forums, you would actually come to the conclusion that this is the worst game ever created by man. I'm talking worse than the 50 Cent game, worse than Crazy Frog Racer, and worse than that crazy Christian game where you have to dungeon crawl using a Bible. It's awful, according to the forums. However, there are 5.5 million people playing the game, so either Blizzard has come up with a very clever scheme to entrap 5.5 million people into playing, or is it 5 million? I really can't recall these days. Either that, or there's something good about the game that keeps you all playing. Now, which is it? Now, when you listen to this radio station, I hope you get a relatively balanced view of the game. I, for one, refuse to pull any punches as regards to mistakes that I perceive that Blizzard has made. I'm not going to pull a punch on that. If I think Blizzard has screwed up, I'm going to tell you so. Blizzard doesn't pay me anything, and I don't owe Blizzard anything really either. It is a game that I subscribe to, and it's a game that I spend my time and often my money, and I'm not just talking about my subscription fee either, to run a show on a fan-based radio station. Effectively, they are getting free promotion from me. However, that does not come without a price, and that price is a relatively balanced view of the game. And I think the term to use here is warts and all. Now, this game is not perfect. Don't have any illusions about it. It isn't. There are things about this game which infuriate me, but then again, there are things about this game which do not. Here's why. Why should you buy World of Warcraft? Okay, here's my sales pitch. This is the kind of thing that I say to people in my shop. You'll be aware that I work in a game store, which is a good part-time job to have, although I would like it to be full-time, but then again, they're not giving me the hours, so there you go. It's a good way to earn money, I get a good staff discount, and I get to talk to people about video games. It's my ideal job at the moment, till I move on to something that's actually vaguely respectable. So, yeah. Anyway, point aside. Why should you buy it? The way that I view World of Warcraft is it's the most accessible MMO on the market. And I believe this has contributed a lot to its success. It's accessible because you can jump right into the game and you're not going to be laid down with complex stuff. You don't have to create stats for your character. You don't have to choose a secondary class. You don't have to choose what spells you want, or what skills you have on your hotbar, what skills you take into battle instead of other skills. You pick a class, and you customize how it looks. That's it. That is all you have to do to get into the game. And the class descriptions are really very clear. Classes are very clear. They are very distinct. So if you go into the game, you will have an idea of what you want to play, or if you don't, you will at least get an idea from reading the descriptions and seeing what sounds like your cup of tea. So, let's say, right, I'm the kind of person that likes to play a sneaky character. Well, it's a rogue. I play a rogue. I'm a person who likes to play a healer. I play a priest. I'm a person who likes to play a nuker. I can play a mage. I like to be able to control minions and all that kind of thing. I could play a hunter, or I could play a warlock, depending on my preference. It's quite clear as to what I'm going to play. I don't have to roll up a set of stats like I would in Dungeons & Dragons, which, let's face it, is something which can screw you over for the rest of the game. Any game that requires you to roll up a set of stats that you stick with and can't re-roll later can screw up your character development. That's not the case here. If you want better stats, you simply have to get better equipment. If you've got a piece of equipment that isn't very good, just get rid of it and get another one. Your stats are equipment dependent. So, it's this sort of safety net which prevents you from making major mistakes on your character that is quite attractive. And that adds to its accessibility. Now, any idiot can jump right into the game and they can effectively play it. From the first 5 seconds of being in the game, you will know effectively what you're doing. Go towards the guy with the big floating thing above his head. Talk to him. He tells you what to do next. Blah, blah, blah. Questing is good in that way. It makes sense. What else is good about the game? The graphical style is attractive. It's unique. It's not what you would expect. Look at, say, EverQuest, and you'll see a generic-looking fantasy MMO. Look at World of Warcraft, and you see something that is unmistakably Blizzard. It really is. There's nothing that looks like that. It's a very unique graphical style, and that works in its favour. It may not be the finest graphics ever, it may not have the most advanced technology ever, but it's unique, and that is a big bonus. Now, again, character progression is very clear, which is a good thing. You feel like you're being rewarded every couple of levels. Your character noticeably progresses. It's not so much that your character progression is controlled by you, it's shoved in your face, and you'll actually tend to find that people do sometimes enjoy that kind of thing. They like to be told what to do. That is why we accept having governments in the first place. That is why people buy Britney Spears albums, because the music industry tells them to. They love being ordered about. It's a subconscious thing. They like to be controlled. The game itself tells you where to go next. It tells you how your character is progressing, and that is attractive in some respects. Whereas some people, like myself, a lot of the time would like to customize my character and do everything myself, there is also an attraction to being led around by the nose. And that's how it is. The character progression is very clear. It makes sense. Every couple of levels, I get new skills. Every 2 levels. Doesn't matter what, every 2 levels I will get something new that I could play with. So I'll never have a elongated period of feeling like my character is stagnating and stuck in a rut. I'll always get something new. That's a motivation to keep going to level 60. And there's another thing, level 60. Unlike something like EverQuest, or some of the hardcore MMOs, Final Fantasy, where you get level 300 or something ridiculous like that, which will take you years, you can get to maximum level quite fast. Even a, quote, casual player that plays an hour a day can get to level 60 eventually. And that's fine. So the grind itself is not all that big, and the grind is hidden beneath a very, very believable veneer of questing. Grinding, there is not a single area of the game where you actually have to grind for experience. There are always quests you could be doing. There are often multiple quests you could be doing, and that's a good thing. Questing is more enjoyable than grinding. Some questing is just grinding with a pretext, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Suspend your disbelief for a moment and say that you are slaughtering 60 quillboars for the good of the land, not because you need to grind 60 tusks. So yeah. Questing. Good area of the game. The PvP. Simplistic, yet enjoyable. PvP strategy is relatively simple. It's quite easy to pick up how to PvP, but it's harder to know. It's based around knowledge. Let's face it, it's not skill, it's knowledge. So, knowledge of your class and knowledge of everyone else's class, plus specific itemization equals success. Itemization is a big plus in the game. In almost every way, in both PvE and PvP. There are a massive variety of things you can have. They all look different. There are a lot of different graphics in the game. Almost every item looks different. Admittedly, there are some which look the same. There are some which look similar, but every item pretty much, with a few exceptions, looks different. It didn't used to. Say, Wrath, the Wrath set used to be awful, but they're updating the graphics as they go. That's one big plus of the game. Your character feels like it's yours on the basis of your equipment, not on the basis of your character, because your character may look exactly the same as 1,000 other characters in the game, but your items define you. And they look good. They look very good. It's very satisfying to have, say, Zinrock, a sword which is 3 times the height of most people. It's very satisfying to hit things with. Battlegrounds are a big plus. The idea that you can PvP in a controlled environment with specific goals. You can also world PvP if you wish. The role-playing community is okay. It's not the best ever, but it's relatively vibrant. It's certainly better than titles like Guild Wars, I'll tell you that. There's no role-playing in that. It's full of morons. The community is actually quite good. Now, the point that you brought up was that the forums are full of morons. Yeah, they're full of whinging idiots. If you look at the forums, you believe the game is terrible. However, the forums represent nothing more than the absolute vocal minority. Bear in mind that... Let's take an example, actually. Let's go over to the official World of Warcraft forums. I'm going to do that right now. worldofwarcraft.com. Typing with one hand for the lose. So we'll load up that. Just waiting while it loads. Yeah, that's one disadvantage. Their site often goes down, but never mind. Forums. Right, let's find something on general discussion. Something important. Okay, a sticky thread. Now, the biggest sticky thread I can see on here has 362,000 views. Now, let's assume for a moment that each one of those was an individual person, which it is not. We know that already. Then that would be 362,440 people who view the forums. Assuming they all viewed that. Bearing in mind it is a pretty major thread. Let's just assume that that's how many people use the forums. But it's not. A lot less people actually use the forums. Mainly because that's views. If I go on there right now, I'm not logged into World of Warcraft forums. Right, I've just gone and viewed that thread. I go back. Oh, look. More views. I wasn't logged in. It doesn't represent a person. I can go in there as many times as I like and up the viewing if I wish. But that's not the point. Let's assume for a moment that there are 162,444 people who post on the forums. Let's get out the calculator and find out just what a percentage of the community that actually is. Right, okay. So, now how many people are there playing in the US? 2.5 million? Something like that? Let's just take that as a guess. So, let's assume that every single one of those was an individual person, which we already know is not. 362,444. So we want 2.5 million. 2.5 million. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, go. 200. Yeah, there we go. 2.5 million. And we want to divide that by that number. that 5 zeros or 6? I can't see on my monitor. It's very, very grainy. Ah, there we go. Divide that by 362,444. What do you get? 6.8. So 1 in every 6.8 people apparently post on the forums. If you were to go by that. We already know that there's a lot less than that because that viewing is nowhere near that. How many people have posted in the Burning Crusade thread? There's 1,080. That is the biggest thread on there. 1,080 people have posted in there. And that may be multiple people, which it no doubt is. So even if every single one of those views was an individual person, 1 in 6.8 people. Now, is that the minority? Of course it's the minority. It's the vocal minority. We all know that it's going to be far less people that actually post. There's no way of really telling because it doesn't have a registered users and active users, but it's blindingly obvious that less people post. So, the conclusion is that anyone who posts on the forums is in fact a part of the vocal minority. You've got to bear in mind that whiners are, in general, the vocal minority. That's what makes them whiners. That, generally speaking, they don't have a valid concern, which is why they're the minority. If it's a valid concern, most people will pick up on it. They're not stupid. Sure, they might be incredibly silly. They're not stupid. They recognise a game problem when they see it. So, when, say, Majors whine that their class is broken, and then other players say, oh, look at all these Majors. Let's take, for example, the ridiculous Mage Union, which I featured on last week's show. What a bunch of tards. 200 people in the Mage Union. Therefore, that means Majors are broken. 200 people. Wow. You win. Out of 5.5 million. That's brilliant. There are more people listening to my show right now, and this is live, not just counting the podcasts. There are, in fact, twice as many people listening to my show than are in your Mage Union. And you claim that the Mage Union represents the view of Majors? Don't be absurd. And that's the point that I'm trying to make. Don't listen to the forums. Don't listen to the vocal minority if you're thinking of buying this game, because the reason everyone is not posting on the forums is they're too busy having fun in the game to do it. They don't need to post on the forums because they're happy with the game, they're having fun, and they're enjoying it. And let's face it, subscriber base is not exactly dropping, is it? Yes, indeed. Get your topics in. You listen to Blue Please here on WoW Radio. I think it's time for a little bit of Children of Bodom, let's face it. When isn't there a time for Children of Bodom? Trashed, lost, and strung out. Enjoy. You're listening to the podcast and archive of Blue Please. You can listen in live on Sundays at 17:30 GMT. That's 12:30 Eastern Standard Time with a lively musical pre-show kicking off 1 hour beforehand. If you like WoW Radio's productions, then make sure to dig our shows at dig.com and check out our website at www.wcradio.com. Sounds of Elven King and Pagan Purity here on WoW Radio with myself, TotalBiscuit. This is Blue Please. Before that, Children of Bodom. Trashed, lost, and strung out. I think I'm getting a sore throat, you know. Either a sore throat or a cold. Something is in the back of my throat, and I don't think it's healthy. Oh, well, never mind. I shall try and finish the show before collapsing in a heap. Okay. Right. I've got a whole bunch of emails. Let me put it this way. I've also got a whole bunch of PMs. I will not be answering your PMs because I get too many of them. Every show, I'm not kidding, every single show I go on, and within about an hour, my whole window is full, absolutely full of PMs. So full that I can't see who they're from. And I kid you not, some of the times I ask for shout-outs, the windows get too small to click on. They really do. It's just not good. But yeah. Send your queries through email. Use it. Don't send me through PM. It's not good. The Murloc at gmail.com is the place to email. Right. Okay. Let's pick a random topic out of the box. Actually, I'll get rid of Is it Clawhammer's topic first? He asked about the storyline in Guild Wars compared to WoW. WoW lore is better It's a little less generic than Guild Wars. Guild Wars lore and backstory is kind of forced on you in the way that... I'm not going to ruin it for anyone who wants to play it, but let's just say the training is a prologue to what really happens in the game. Whereas that can be cool, it also feels a little bit forced in some respects. So yeah, I wouldn't say the backstory is as good as WoW. The characters aren't as colourful in the way... You know, the whole world of WoW is colourful in a respect of lore. There's always something about each area. There's always a backstory. There's elements of it. There's a reason for things being there. Or at least you can think of one or make one up. Right. Okay. Daniel Petit says, raiding can still prove a stumbling block for a lot of players. Getting to be in an NC guild and running is getting more difficult than it possibly should be. PvP is a lot more to suit a casual player, but I like to see... What? I'm just trying to get through this email and work out what it's talking about. First, I would like to see PvP sets for current part of PvP. Right, so what you're effectively talking about is PvP as an alternative to PvE. Right, well, the thing about this is that there is a very different set of knowledge builds. Let's just say that. I'm not going to say skill, because I don't view WoW as a skill-based game. It's all about the knowledge and your items. So, in PvP, if I kill someone, it's not down to skill, it's down to the fact that I hit them in the face 3 times with a frostbolt, critted, and then fire blasted them. That's not skillful, that's mostly random. But then again, you can affect the randomness of it via use of your abilities and via your itemization. Again, not skill, but knowledge. Knowing how to inflict the maximum pain. Knowing how to keep people away from you. Knowledge, but not skill. Frost Novering does not require any skill. Pressing the hotkey does not require any skill, but it requires knowledge. It requires a very different set of knowledge. I think, to be honest, equivalency is a very difficult topic. Because some people argue, and some people argue quite well, that PvE and PvP should not necessarily be compared. They should not be given the same kinds of items, the same level of items. And again, how do you define a level of item? PvP items are generally geared towards PvP play. Say, for instance, the robes may have a lot of stamina on them. The High Warlord staff has a lot of stamina on it. Why? Because stamina allows you to survive longer. In PvE, that's not so important. Is that on the same level as a Staff of Shadowflame? How do you argue that? How do you compare? Can you make a comparison? You've got to be careful with equivalency, because with equivalency, you can end up having items that are far too similar. At the moment, I think PvP sets and such could use a little bit of buffing. A lot of them are relatively useless in endgame. Warlord stuff is nice, but a PvP endgame and the amount of time you have to invest to, say, get to High Warlord Grand Marshal, and you get these items, which are not necessarily as good as Molten Core items. Some are better, some are worse. They could use a little bit of a buff, but equivalency, true equivalency, as far as I'm concerned, is absolutely impossible. It's too difficult. They are two completely different ends of the spectrum. This is why people have PvE sets and PvE builds, and PvP sets and PvP builds, and PvP strategies and PvE strategies. It's all swings and roundabouts, apples and oranges and all that kind of thing. Two totally different things. And again, it's like class balance. If you go for perfect class balance, what you can often find is that your classes become too similar. Your abilities become too similar. Take, for example, Warcraft 2 balance. How was Warcraft 2 balanced? Both the sides were almost identical, except for your spellcasters, and people still whined about the spellcasters. I think you do have to accept that one area is going to suffer. If you buff one area, the other area is going to suffer in comparison. People are always looking for the best and the easiest and the quickest way to get the best equipment. And because of that attitude, something somewhere is going to suffer. You remember the old argument with Zinrock, the Destroyer of Worlds? A very, very good sword that could be attained in a 20-man raid. People complain. Hey, well, that's not fair. The Zinrock is better than my Arcanite Reaper, or the Zinrock is better than my Obsidian Edge Blade, or whatever. Whether or not that's true is irrelevant. The point stands that people argued that there shouldn't be this equivalency. And you're going to find that in every area of the game. People are going to whine and complain that an item, a good item, is available in a way that they are not actually doing. So if you're a PvEer, you'll generally find that PvEers will whine about the items available through PvPing, whereas PvPers will do exactly the opposite. Whereas RPers will just, I don't know, whatever RPers do. So that's my argument on that. Equivalency is difficult. Very, very difficult indeed. Unattainable? Quite possibly. Okay, just a quick question to ask. Jonathan Marquette asked, hey, what happened to No Cake News? It was my favourite part of the show. No Cake News is retired until I can get rid of writer's block. I figured that I started writing a No Cake News one week and I realised that I couldn't think of anything funny to say. And rather than putting out a bad No Cake News, I decided just not to do it. That's going to be my way of thinking. It's always been my way of thinking. If I'm feeling, say, ill or I'm feeling not on the ball of a show, I just won't do it. It's better to not do a show than to do a bad one. A bad one can ruin not only your entire reputation, but it can ruin the way the listeners view your show. And, you know, you're wasting listeners' time. Why should I waste your time with a show that sucks? You know, I might as well not do it at all. That's always been my way of thinking, and that's why I'm thinking with No Cake News. The reason No Cake News is not happening at the moment is because I feel I've got writer's block. I can't think of anything funny to say on No Cake. So, yeah. Right. Okay, what else? Oh, dear. Casual versus hardcore. I'm going to wait till after the break to talk about that, because I haven't talked about that for a very, very long time. Right. Forum garbage. Ian McNichol, also known as Besk. I like his address. Captain Obvious. That's good. Anyway, I believe that the WoW official forums should have one of these two things happen to it. Delete the forums altogether, or step up the strictness of the forums and the Blizzard poster being able to remove forum privileges for anyone that acts like a complete idiot. As I see it, the official WoW forums are the biggest hellhole of hate, idiocy, complaining, crying, and just random nonsense, such as Zomga, WTF, BBQ, and should be removed from the face of the internet and never return. And people who have sensible questions to send an email to Blizzard or ask one of their friends. Right, well, what you'll generally find, especially with MMOs, is that official forums are full of morons. It's the fan site forums that are the good ones. They're the places to be. Really, they are. Those are the places to be. Official forums are full of idiots. Now, you can heavily moderate a forum, but what you've got to watch out is that if you heavily moderate a forum, you can take with it casualties. Casualties, posters who are worth seeing posts. I've seen in the past, specifically on PlanetSide forums that I posted on heavily, people have been banned for one reason or another, and they've actually been really good posters. They've just, say, insulted someone, and have been banned for it. While the insult was actually quite justified. Or say they've posted a picture of, you know, some girl in a thong or whatever. You know, no nakedness, you know, no nasty bits being shown on a teenage forum, but I've actually seen someone get banned for that, and they were a genuine and really good contributor to that forum. And that's what happens when you over-moderate. You end up killing off the very people you want to stay. The rules are designed to, say, protect these people, and yet those rules are actually abusing them. Bad idea. Now, while I'm not necessarily in favour of over-moderation, I can see the need to clean up the forums. To do that, you're going to need a big staff of people. The sad thing is that why can't Blizzard actually just give moderation powers to people they trust? You know, they can always take them away again. Deputise, effectively, trustworthy players. They can clear up the forums for you, a forum hit squad, as it were. They can deal with it. They can clean up the forums. Deal with all these people. But yeah. That's my opinion on the forums. They suck. We all know they suck. Which is why people in the know avoid them. Fan sites are the way to be. Go to fan site forums, post there, because they are generally communities of people who actually want to have discussions. Intelligent people who have gone out of their way. They obviously like the game enough to sign up to a fan site forum, the same as anyone that signs up to, say, WoW Radio forum. That's why you'll find that our forums are better. Yet we moderate them actively and sensibly, but our forums are better because of the community that actually come to them, not because we moderate them heavily. Enforcing that kind of thing will not help, because you're always going to get morons on the official forums. It doesn't matter how hard you try and delete their posts, there will always be more. They're readily available. I think, actually, one of the biggest points and the biggest reasons that you get a lot of morons on that forum is that you don't have to register for them. You automatically get rights as soon as you join the game. Oh, bad idea. What you're basically saying is that if some 13-year-old with ADD, a complete moron, comes on and they, I'm bored for 5 minutes. Hey, I'll sign up for the forums and I'll post on every Realm forum, 20 threads that say, you are gay, you are gay, you are gay. That's the kind of thing you can expect from bored people. A bored person will not go through the effort of signing up to a fan site forum to do that. It's a natural barrier to them. So yeah, assume that everyone on that forum is a complete moron. Really. Assume that they're idiots, because generally speaking, they are. Assume it, and you can do no wrong, as far as I'm concerned. Shoutouts will come in later in the show, but I think it's time to inflict the horribleness onto you. The horribleness known as rapping the phones. Yo, faux shizzle and so forth. It's time for yet another terrible, horrific edition of the one and only Rapping the Forums. It's where we take the worst forum posts you can possibly imagine and turn them into a disgusting combination of, rap and forums. Making Rapping the Forums. It's a recipe for disaster. Okay, it's time for the first rap of the day. It's from Bioshen. He's a level 69 elf druid. His guild is the Oracle Sentinels. He's on the Venture Co realm. Oh noes. It's a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4. My PvP headache. I played Battlefield and Jedi Knight series, but this is the first time in my life PvP gave me a headache, and it's because Blizzard likes to put you in a position where you can't fight back and then torture you to death. When I almost hit 30,000 HK, I got such a major headache that I needed 5 days to feel better again. So I felt all better again and play one game of AV, and my brain literally starts swelling. It's because I lose all control over my character, and no matter how many times I click on the button, this trick will not happen because I am stuck in a fear, stun, or spell interruption cycle. Shaman debuff is for noobs who can't fight. I started with martial arts at the age of 8, and at 12 was a teacher. You don't tell me anything. I did 11 different types of martial arts, and I suspect while PvP developers are having -10 eyesight and 0 accuracy, should I protect myself for WoW PvP because it gives me a brain swelling? Already have grown tired of PvE dungeons because players play that stuff as if their life depends on it. So I don't care about any level 60 dungeon, and also stop caring about PvP. Please clean up your game. It messed up my life. Oh noes, there is more to come. Hide behind your blinging sofa of bling. Okay, Consume, he's a level 29 undead priest. His guild, the Unnamed. His realm is Hellscream. Oh no. Ooh, it's a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4. Twinks, I must first say how despicable you people are. You make me sick. Your lack of skill and ability to play a game as it was intended physically makes me sick. I can't believe some of the twinks out there, everyone now, who has spent 200 plus gold to twig out there 10 to 29 character. I have to say to you, hope you understand how terrible you are. These are the reasons. 1, if you didn't have a higher level character, so only money you had was from questing till 29. Could you have the agility enchant or the maths? Does any more 0 to 29 drop a Agi maths? I'll ask the question for you. No. Agi is just an example. Crusader, fiery, plus 5 one hand, plus 9 2 hand, plus 22 in, no none. Another one is plus 100 HP mana. WTF, leave them in chance. FFS. 2, getting items that take many runs of the same instance. This isn't the worst thing, but it rewards having friends. What if a person who doesn't group or can't find groups for bad instances like RFK and RFD alliance site, so the person without friends can't group to do it once? Little, alone, 10 plus times 2.5, doing an instance higher than your level. Should be able to, no Murgan, to get items you shouldn't have. Once again, the person with friends abusing instances for better items. I'm not saying I don't have friends, but that can drag me through those, but I don't. Why should I play the game as it was intended? Those are the main points. You guys, it's terrible, it's not fun. The real problem is the twinks are normally the characters with ults who are semi-good at the game. To those people, why the hell do you have to twink it yourself? I still win 90% of the time. Yes, I do. No inch, not to what? Well, that is a lie. I have plus 5 mana to chest. You don't have to twink to have fun. You just have to stick to your skill and skill will win. I don't dislike alliance twinks. I don't like horde either. But it's a necessary evil when people like Malicious, Lenny and Denied are in the game. I guess I'm just sour because I like PvP a lot. Why can't there be level caps for a chance like 50 min for Agi plus 50, 7 for plus 22 in? Why can't there be Crusader on any weapon? A terrible, please gain some decency or kill yourself, all the same to me. You're listening to the podcast and archive of Blue Please. You can listen in live on Sundays at 17:30 GMT. That's 12:30 Eastern Standard Time with a lively musical pre-show kicking off 1 hour beforehand. If you like WoW Radio's productions, then make sure to dig our shows at dig.com and check out our website at www.wcradio.com. Yes, the sounds of Fintroll with Midnatten's Vidunder. Just to clear up any confusion, they are in fact Finnish, although they do sing in Swedish. This is Blue Please here on WoW Radio with myself, TotalBiscuit. Right. Wrapping the forums. Appropriate considering we're talking about how awful the forums are. That was just 2 examples, and I've got another one coming up in the form of Imbecile of the Week a little bit later on in the show. We've got 25 minutes left of the show, or so. I know I've got to go for a WoW Radio staff meeting in 25 minutes, so the show will end before that. Alright. Okay, let's address the really big one. Someone talked about casual versus hardcore. Big mistake. Big mistake. Because that is a subject I can rant about for a very long time. So, Patrick French is responsible for the next 15 minutes. Hardcore versus casual. I have never understood the argument behind this controversial topic. I understand that the more time played will result in more epics, and as far as I can make out, this is the main point being made by casual players. What I understand a casual player to be is one that doesn't play the game for long amounts of time, maybe just the weekend or a few evenings during the week, whereas hardcore is every waking minute of the day. But, and I'm talking for experience here, an average endgame guild will spend 2 evenings in Molten Core during the week, each run being 3 hours approximately. If a person only goes to MC for those 6 to 7 hours a week, is that not casual playing? And strangely enough, results in epics as well. Someone might turn around and say, well, a hardcore player might go to Zul'Gurub another evening, gaining more epics. In fact, the result of this is usually the replacement of that person's current epics. Just wanted to get that off my chest. The argument is pointless. Do you agree? long argument. Right, okay. Casual versus hardcore. A point I made a couple of weeks ago was that there is no such thing. There is no such thing as a hardcore gamer, and there is no such thing as a casual gamer. Why? Because they are terms which cannot possibly be defined. Everyone has a different definition. Therefore, this is one thing we're always told when we're being taught law, and that's the more exceptions a rule has, the worse generally that rule is considered to be. if, say, hardcore gamers is considered as a rule, and everyone else's view of hardcore gamers, which is different, is considered to be an exception, then it is one of the worst rules ever devised by man. Hardcore gamers, casual gamers, neither of these actually exist. Let me explain why. Hardcore gamers. Generally speaking, someone who considers himself to be a hardcore gamer is talking out of their arse. What they're trying to do is justify the fact that they spend far too much of their life playing a silly computer game. So they claim that they're a hardcore gamer. That's the justification for it. Well, I can do this because I'm a hardcore gamer. Usually it will be regarded by everyone as being stupid. It's like, oh, well, you can't, you can't do this. You can't play computer games for 12 hours a day because that's just socially unacceptable. But if you're a hardcore gamer, then you can at least justify it to yourself, if not to anyone else. So I'm a hardcore gamer, therefore, this is the reason I'm playing. Bollocks. That's all it is, really, isn't it? It's just a tag that you've created for yourself. It happens a lot. You'll find that large social groups in life will generally tag themselves in a particular way. It makes them feel like they belong into some kind of group. So they can call themselves that, and they can justify their existence via that. Well, if you justify your existence by how much you play a computer game, then you truly need a slap around the head. You are silly. Now, the other aspect of hardcore gamers is the way that other people view hardcore gamers. Now, the definitions vary very wildly. Apparently, according to some people, someone who goes into Molten Core is a hardcore gamer. That's interesting, because I go into Molten Core, I don't consider myself to be a hardcore gamer, but then again, it wouldn't make a difference if I did, because my definition is different to everyone else's. That's because hardcore gamers don't exist. It's simply some mythical concept created to justify whatever particular argument you happen to be in the time. You twist the term to suit whatever needs you have. So, say, if you raid MC a lot, and someone is arguing that, hey, well, you're getting too many epics, blah, blah, blah. They say, well, I'm a hardcore gamer. I deserve these epics. But then again, a casual player might say, hey, he's a hardcore gamer. That doesn't mean he deserves all this. I'm a casual player. Why can't we get stuff too, blah, blah. You're not a casual player. You just don't play enough to get what you want. That doesn't make you casual. That makes you a person who doesn't play enough to get what you want. Is that the definition of a casual gamer is these days? Right, okay, then in that case, I'm a casual worker. I don't work enough to get the money that I want. I don't work enough to be good at my job. Therefore, I'm a casual worker. I could be a hardcore worker where I work every minute of the day. Both are wrong. They both suck. They're both equally stupid. But then again, they're both also completely mythical concepts. I mean, let's face it. There is no proper definition of either of them that is accepted by everybody. Therefore, it's not a dictionary term. Let's look at the term casual and hardcore in the dictionary, and let's apply it to the WoW debate. So let's look at casual in the dictionary. Casual. Occurring at irregular or infrequent intervals. Occasional. Casual employment at a factory. A casual correspondence with a former teacher. Unpremeditated. Offhand. A casual remark. Being without ceremony or formality. Relaxed. Suited for everyday wear or use. Not serious or thorough. Superficial. Showing little interest or concern. Lenient. Permissive. Not close or intimate. What a massive definition we've got there. So, not only do we have occurring at irregular and infrequent intervals. So, okay, so I'm a casual gamer if I occasionally go to MC. But I don't go every week. Irregular or infrequent intervals. Does that make me a casual gamer? Alright, but I'm still going to MC. Hey, I could go and do Nefarian occasionally. Infrequently. But apparently, people who'd kill Nefarian are hardcore gamers. So how can that be? I fit the definition of casual under the dictionary definition there. But then again, there are also other elements to the definition. Showing little interest or concern. Oh, that's interesting, because that's actually the way that sometimes hardcore players decide to describe casuals. They describe them as people who don't have enough dedication to the game, don't have enough interest in the game, don't have enough concern about their character in order to progress. Therefore, they're casual. So what you're basically telling me is that by a dictionary definition, compared to the definitions of people who post on the forums, casual and hardcore players are exactly the same people, because the definition can apply to both. Well, that's just silly. That's just pointless. What is that all about? Therefore, I conclude that those do not exist. Hardcore and casual players do not exist. What does exist? Now, what exists is the tiers of TB. Now, that's spelled T-I-E-R-S. I'm not an emo kid like Dustin. I don't cry much. Anyway, the tiers of TB. Content exists in one of 5 at the moment, or is it 6? I can't remember. It may be 6 at some point, but yeah. Let's just say it exists in one of 5 states. It exists in the following states. Soloable content. Difficult soloable content / group content. 5-man content. 20-man content. And 40-man content. It exists in these states. Everything in the game can be put into one of those 5 categories. Now, number 1, soloable content. That's pretty much questing up to level 60. The quests which are soloable, they can go in there. 2, difficult soloable content. Some of the elite quests / group content. Stuff that can be done with certain classes. Say, killing an Abyssal Templar can be done with certain classes on your own. But sometimes you might need a group. It's easier with a group. So that's tier 2 content. Tier 3 content, instances, 5-man, 10-man. Tier 4, 20-man raid content. Tier 5, 40-man raid content. Now, you see that PvP also falls into that as well. AV can fall into tier 5 if you wish to. It's not difficulty. It's not ranked by difficulty. It's ranked by the number of players you need. Because that's generally what people view. People view MC as a hardcore instance because it takes 40 people. So they say their guild is casual, so they can't do MC. That's not entirely true. You could always ally with another guild, or you could recruit more members. The reason you can't do MC is because you don't have enough members. It's not because you're casual. Your entire guild could play every minute of every day, and you still couldn't do MC because you don't have enough people. So, in reality, the content in this game is not due to how casual or hardcore you are, it's due to the amount of people you have at your disposal. Now, you can subdivide those tiers if you so wish. You've got 40-man content that is casual, if casual even exists, which it doesn't. Some people view Onyxia as a casual raid instance. The reason behind that is that it can be done with a wide range of people, depending on how well equipped those people are, and it can be done in about half an hour. The Onyxia instance is one boss and a few trash. That's all it is. It can be done in 25 minutes, half an hour. No problem. It can be done, as we've seen on the video with the elitist jerks, with 10 people. It's not advisable, but it can be done with 10 people. So while that is a 40-man raid content, you can also say maybe it's casual. But then again, maybe it's also hardcore, because people can't do it the first few times. This is why these definitions are pointless. Casual and hardcore do not exist, because you can see they can be applied to almost everything in so many different ways. It's a rule with too many exceptions to be useful. So the whole casual hardcore debate, as far as I'm concerned, is pointless. There are only different tiers of content, and that is not based on difficulty. It's not based on how much you play. It's based on the amount of people you have at your disposal. Now that's my argument there. Some of you may disagree. If you disagree, send me an email, themurloc@gmail.com. I'll be happy to accommodate you. But as far as I'm concerned, the hardcore versus casual debate does not exist. It only exists in the minds of people that want to make it an issue, whereas in fact it is not an issue. The only issue is content for people and the amount of people you have. Casual raid instance, that's what Zulgur was supposed to be, ended up taking longer than MC. It's arguably, in most places, more difficult than MC. Thakal still wipes us. We never wipe on Major Domo. We don't wipe on Gar, Gehennis, Magmadar. No. None of the big bosses in there. Don't wipe on Golomag. Heck, we don't wipe on Ragnaros these days, but we can wipe on a few bosses in Zul'Gurub. So how can casual and hardcore apply there? It can't. It doesn't make any sense. How can a casual raid instance be more difficult than a, quote, hardcore instance? The reason is quite simple. Hardcore and casual don't exist. Just because you need less people doesn't make the instance easier. That's why content should be tiered. It should not be made so it's casual and hardcore. It should be made by the amount of people you require. As far as I'm concerned, it is a bit silly. You often find that so-called casual players will call for, say, oh, I want a 10-man instance fight and get epics, but it's not allowed to take 7 hours or whatever. So what you're saying is that you want a easy instance that gives you epics. That makes no sense. Zul'Gurub requires half the amount of people, yet takes longer. So what are you arguing for here? You want more bang for your buck. You want more for the amount of time you spend in game. No, that's not fair. You can have the same, or maybe you can have slightly less, because as far as I'm concerned, it's a good argument to make that the amount of time you spend in the game is directly proportional to the amount of stuff you get. But an element of that is quality time over quantity time. Quality time is spent with a 40-man raid group, getting things done. You cannot possibly expect content that only requires you to do something to be as good. Because let's face it, you can do that anytime. Quality time is limited. Quality time is limited to the time that can be spent with a large raid group at this point in time. That's the way the game works. And as far as I'm concerned, that is not entirely unjustified. I think it's fair. I really do. Some of us have jobs. We have responsibilities. We have social lives. Yes, I do actually go out drinking now and again. I know it's a crazy concept, but yeah, I don't spend all day on WoW. By any stretch of the imagination. I've also got a job. So, what am I? The answer is simple. I'm not casual, I'm not hardcore, and neither are any of you. You just play WoW. That's it. You play World of Warcraft. You're not casual, you're not hardcore, you're a player. End of story. Listen to Blue Please here on WoW Radio, and I think I'm just going to have a little bit of time to shove in Imbecile of the Week. Imbecile. 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 Imbecile of the Week. Oh, yes. Imbecile of the Week is where we take the worst posts we managed to find this week on the forums. And when I say we mean myself and my content team, and thank you to my content team for getting me the stuff this week. We find a post and we ridicule it for great justice, as far as I'm concerned. Posts like this should be ridiculed. This week, we've got something fantastic. Okay. I'll post it in the channel so you can have a read. There you go. Right. Akuma. His realm is Sargeras. He's a level 60 troll priest. And he's the Imbecile of the Week. Why? Well, list of what makes PvP idiotic. This is what he's come up with. All classes have a little something that makes them too much, and that people whine about all day long. Now I say, instead of each class asking for a buff up to counter all this crap, why not nerf everyone where they're annoying us? Right, let's just make something very, very clear before I start. Nerfing is bad. Why? Because nerfing makes games less interesting. Take, for example, the game that I often bring up as a very good example of why nerfing and stuff is bad, PlanetSide. Why was it bad? Because you get weapons that effectively become pop guns. Abilities that become pop guns. They're not effective anymore. They cease to become effective. If you nerf them, that's what happens. It's better to have something that's powerful but has a hard counter, in my opinion, than something that's weak and piddly. And you don't need a counter to it because it's just, well, not doing enough damage. It isn't effective. So, that's something that I'm going to throw right out the window. Nerf instead of buff? Absolutely not. No. Right, and here's we go. Here's a list. Nerf overall damage dealing. What, so fights take longer and are more dull? That's a great idea. Yeah, brilliant. Nerf Blackwing Layer MC weapons. Oh yeah, please nerf the weapons that took you, 200, 300 hours to actually attain. Please nerf the best content in the game. I mean, it is only the hardest content in the game. Why should people get amazing weapons out of it? How illogical is that? Remove Imber trinkets. Oh yeah, please remove the ability to burst damage every 3 minutes, just for the sake of it. Oh yeah, get rid of them. Get rid of variety. Oh no, we can't have that. Get rid of something that actually makes us powerful, bearing in mind that we're talking about casters here. Yeah, we don't get big, fat weapons. We just get stats. So that's, the Imber trinkets exist for that specific reason, to give us something that can tip the balance in our favour that way. Give us more Imber trinkets. Give us a choice of Imber trinkets. This is going over the top. I'm not here to play UT Instagib, or I play UT. Instagib, on average, with a good plus damage build as a mage, it takes me about 15 to 20 seconds to kill someone. That's enough time for your stupid, mushy little brain to realise that you're being attacked and to develop some kind of counter strategy. And if you can't, you suck. It's fine. Learn to play. Oh dear. I definitely need a drink after this. Strong drink. Right. Remove finishing moves on all classes that got one. Pretty stupid to hit the I win button when a player, sorry, a cloth wearer, oh yeah, there we go, people are discriminating against his class again, reach 20% hit points. Why? Why? Stay above 20, you're a priest for God's sake, stay above 20% hit points, learn to play, I mean, come on. Why remove finishing moves? They're interesting, they add to the variety, they add a sense of danger, like, I can't let my health go this low, or you'll go bang. It adds a nice, unnerving edge to combat, and I've just jammed my hand in a box of cufflinks. That was really painful. I should stop playing this cufflinks box. For some reason, every time I do a show now, I play with this box. It had cufflinks in it, but it clicks really satisfying. It's got a really satisfying click to it. I like it, and I play with it during a show. Don't know why, I just do. Anyway, back to the point. Point at hand, yeah. Precision and Beast's Trees should be nerfed for hunters. Notice he doesn't give a reason here. Yeah, please nerf these. Sorry, Precision? And Beast's Trees. I thought it was Marksmanship, Survival, and Beast Mastery. Now, I don't play a hunter, but I think I know that there is not a tree called Precision. Nerf for hunters and their DPS decreased by 1/3 in general in PvP at least. Right, so basically you want to nerf a class in PvP for no apparent reason. You haven't given any justification, you just want, yeah, 1/3. This is the magical statistic. I pulled it out of my arse. Because it's amazing. People think that putting numbers in their argument makes it more valid. No, if you pull them out of your arse, it does not make them more valid at all, you blithering idiot. Ah! Warriors shouldn't be damage dealers. Yeah, hitting someone with a sword 3 times higher than me should not do any damage. No. Warriors can't be damage dealers. Nerf 2k hits. Stop letting them hit you, you idiot. You've got fear for a damn good reason. I don't let a warrior hit me. I'm a mage. You know, that's how I win against a warrior. It's not supposed to hit me. You're a clothy. You're not supposed to let them hit you with a big sword. Remove the talents, making ambush, backstab, eviscerate, crit for an insane rate, and let rogues rely on their agility. Rogues do rely on their agility. You get crit chance from it, you idiot. You also get dodge. What happens when you can't, this whole two-shot thing at level 60, especially against someone with reasonable health, is a myth. It doesn't happen. At least it does not happen enough to be something I'm concerned about. I haven't been two-shotted in months. And I really haven't. Get some stamina. That's what it's for. This is actually turning into a nerf rogues here. Make all rogues incapacitate, stun, dispellable, curable break on first damage. That's the most important. What? So you want to break a stun just because you're being damaged? Yeah. Okay, I'll tell you what. I'm going to come and kick you in the back of the head, and then I am going to stab you in the side. And instantly, you are going to have all the effect of that kick in the back of the head removed. It's going to disappear because I stabbed you inside. It's going to completely go away. Do you realise how illogical that seems? The ability to stun lock is how a rogue wins. That's a rogue way of combat. You stun, you hit. Because they're actually quite fragile. Remove fear on Death Coil. Why? Give me one reason. You do realise that warlocks lack so many defensive abilities. Death Coil is one of their only ones. Remove Eye for an Eye on Paladins to reduce their shield duration to end seconds. Also remove Hammer of Wrath. This is a stupid skill on Paladins. Hammer of Wrath! Oh no! Hammer of Ruffle. Oh, yeah. It would be a shame that Paladins could actually do damage for once. Oh my god. Imber, nerf it. Remove arcane power and Imber triggers. Yeah, please, nerf our ability to burst damage for 15 seconds while taking 33% more mana. Nerf that one specific ability. Get rid of it. I mean, you know, mages being rage damage dealers, that's insane! What are you thinking? I mean, well, make Sheep a 15-second unbreakable duration spell in PvP. What? So, what you're basically saying to me is, you've spent all this time whinging about fear, whinging about the ability to stun lock, and yet you want a spell that is completely unbreakable. Yeah, that's great. I'm just gonna go polymorph someone and nuke them to death. The ability to not break... Oh, what are you thinking of, man? Put Shaman Instance on 10-second cooldown. Why? Give me one good reason. Yeah, nerf Shaman DPS. Why? Yeah, nerf Shaman. Learn to play. Remove the ability to escape Frost Nova for Druids. Why? They're a good counter to a specific class. That's the interesting thing about a Druid. You can always keep mobile. However, your DPS is actually quite low. This is the idea of non-linear class balance. Linear class balance would be to make every class exactly the same. Non-linear class balance is the idea of hard counters. I have abilities, but they're counterable. You know what? I can kill a Druid. And the fact that they can escape Frost Nova is not going to change that. Remove any kind of way to remove players' stun, root, snare with the PvP trinkets, aka remove the PvP trinket. So you want to... This guy is the most inconsistent guy I've ever seen. He wants to nerf stun locking and yet wants to nerf the abilities to get out of stun. Nah. The PvP trinket is on a 3-minute cooldown, or is it 5? I honestly can't remember. It's good for one use only. It's good for trying to get the upper hand in a fight. And I like it. I'm mage and I like it. I like the fact that, you know, someone else can break out of my Nova, or break out of my chill effects, or break out of my polymorph. That's fine, I've got no problem with that, because it's part of strategy. You get rid of this stuff, you make combat dull. The whole idea of combat is that it should be interesting and have a wide variety of things you can do. The last one, all melee plus crit challenge should go at 20 plus points like for casters. Why? Give me one good reason. PvP would be much more balanced. No, PvP would be dull. PvP would be dumbed down for the moron that is suggesting this. PvP would be imbecilic. Flame away, kids. Too late. Imbecile. Of the week. You've been listening to Blue Please here on WoW Radio. I have a staff meeting to attend. I'm going to leave you with a few choice tracks. Don't know what the choice tracks are yet. You see, I didn't really think that far ahead. I was too busy ranting. Oh, well, I'm sure I can think of something in the next 10 seconds before it sounds like I'm babbling. Yeah. Let's get some metal in here. Something fun. Something heavy. Maybe some Testament. Why not? You've been listening to Blue Please here on WoW Radio. Hope the archive will be up in the next 48 hours. Make sure to check out our show schedule. Tune in to the other shows. We've got tomorrow The Ancient of Lore at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Moon Time. Check it out. It's great. You've been listening to my show. Thank you for listening to my show. Here's a little bit of Testament. This is 3 Days in Darkness. You've been listening to the podcast and archive of Blue Please, one of World of Warcraft's longest-running podcasts and shows. You can check out all the shows at wcradio.com. Be sure to dig us at dig.com if you like what we're doing, and rate us on iTunes. You can, in fact, download all of our other shows at wcradio.com. Click the downloads button at the top of the screen, and feel free to get involved in our forum community, also available on our website. Thank you for listening.